Loud and Quiet presents Midnight Chats.
Welcome to episode 20 of Midnight Chats. My name is Greg, and it's been a little while since I've done one of these. Stuart's done the last couple of the podcast episodes, so it's really nice to be back. We've started 2017 with a couple of great episodes. Laura Marlin, the most recent one, and Ryan Adams just before that. If you haven't heard those, definitely go back and check them out. And whilst you're there, if you do like Midnight Chats, please do subscribe to the podcast. And also, if you're feeling generous, you can leave a nice comment about our podcast as well. Now, regular listeners know that we put Midnight Chats online at midnight once every fortnight. But we've started this year by recording a few, so we thought, get them while they're hot. And that's why we're putting out another one now. My guest on this podcast is Jesca Hoop. Now, Jesca, if you don't know her, she's from California, but she's lived in Manchester now for almost 10 years. It's kind of been her adopted city for the last decade or so. And we talked a bit about that and her relationship with the city. And starting out, Jesca famously worked as a nanny for Tom Waits, who, after discovering that she's got this amazing voice, helped guide her music career. I've been aware of Jesca's music since her debut, Kismet, in 2007. She's made a number of albums, including a couple of collaborative ones, one with Albo's Guy Garvey a few years ago, which you should check out if you've not listened to that, and last year's Love Letter for Fire with Iron and Wine's Sam Beam. And I think that Memories Are Now, which is her most recent one, is probably my favourite so far, and that's a big part of the reason why we wanted to get her on Midnight Chats. You'll hear in our chat that Jesca has a very deadpan sense of humour, which is quite British in a way, and she announced this new album that she just put out with a video online where she talked about it being recorded in a Moroccan restaurant. Now, I, like some other people, totally fell for that, and we talk a bit about that in this podcast, and there's lots of other stuff that we go into as well. One of the themes that the record deals with is life before the internet, and so we chatted a bit about the things that we missed before the internet effectively came along and changed everything forever. It's been released on Sub Pop Records, the legendary Sub Pop Records, home of Nirvana and Soundgarden and so many incredible bands. So she tells me a bit about what Sub Pop's like and their offices and what that kind of place is all about. She went on tour as part of Peter Gabriel's band a few years ago, so she mentions that. And there's also a very funny and quite disgusting story about two birds doing their dirty business on the crowd at one of her gigs, but I will leave her to tell you all about that one. And also, back on the subject of collaborators, she talked about her favourite female musicians and who she would like to make some future music with, so that could be exciting. So here we are, recorded in our office on a day where it had been brutally cold. The day before Memories Are Now came out, in fact. This is Midnight Chats with Jesca Hoop. I've got to start with an apology because this room that we're recording in today does tend to get quite cold, and you'll have seen already that we've basically got one miniature heater that effectively keeps us alive in this office. So if it does get a bit chilly, I apologise. How are you? I mean, you've lived in the UK for quite a while now, but how do you bear up during the kind of the classic British winters?
Well, it took me about 5 years to get a raincoat.
Did it?
And then I realized when I wore it in the rain, it actually just looks like wax cotton, and it was not actually a raincoat. So I can't say that I've done so well at being prepared for the cold. But I like dressing for winter. I prefer winter clothing.
Winter style is good.
Winter style is fun.
I prefer summer weather, but winter style, which it doesn't work together, does it?
No, you can't wear your jacket in Florida during June. But it's okay, And I also like the wet. I like the air, the quality of the air here.
Yeah.
I like the wet and cool air. It feels good on my throat, actually.
Do things like that, and are they noticeable? Like when you record in the dry heat, for example, do you hear a different tone come out in your voice?
I'm going to tell you that when you tour, if you stay in if you tour in vans, sleep in hotels, if you tour in a sleeper bus and you'd sleep in hotels, or you go into a venue, all these atmospheres are really dry. There's a very obvious difference. So I tend to huddle over a kettle that has the lid on.
Oh yeah.
The lid opened, and then it just pours out steam. And I tend to turn every room I have to hang out into a steam room.
Is that good for your sinuses? Because
it's just good for moisturizing your vocal cords, really.
Okay. When I was, I have a memory of when I was young, when I used to have like a cold, my mum used to do this thing where she would put boiling water into a bowl, and then she would put a couple of drops of tea tree into it, and then she'd maybe put a tea towel over my head, and that actually always made you feel quite a lot better when you weren't feeling well, or when you were trying to kind of like clear your passages.
I do oil of oregano.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that's really hardcore, though, I have to say. You have to be careful because you can burn yourself. But, there's a big... moist is the way forward when it comes to singing. A moist throat.
I mean, having been born in California and grown up there, and then you moved to Manchester, but you didn't have a raincoat for 5 years. Like, Manchester is obviously, it rains a lot. So how did you find that kind of shift, particularly in the weather?
Well, the biggest shock was that the sun goes down at 3:30 in the winters. I said very clearly, I think you should have told me this before I moved here. This full disclosure. But, like I said, I mean, the weather's fine, dude. It's fine. It's like, I leave a lot. I travel a lot. So if I stayed here all the time, then I would struggle.
Yeah.
But because I get to enjoy other... where the sun shines. I get to go where the sun shines.
And do you feel like an honorary Mancunian now, having been there for, 8-9 years?
I don't know, to be honest with you. I moved there when I was 38. So I think when you move somewhere I do feel like it's welcomed me, and I do feel a part of the family. I have a mixed relationship with Manchester. It's not as drastic as a love-hate relationship. But it's along that line.
What things do you find charming about the city?
The buildings and the sunshine. When the sun shines, the buildings are pretty fantastic. And so much more when the sun is shining. It doesn't really show itself under the cloud cover. I like the village where I live. It's got all sorts of things that just... I lived in LA for a while, and also the place where I'm from. There's the city kind of... LA rolls itself out for you. You might not know that as a visitor, without knowing the city. People don't find it very user-friendly, but indeed it is, actually, once you know it better. And there's a little bit of restaurant culture in my village, which I really like. I look to my neighborhood to have certain amenities, and my village has some of that. I think the north is still back in time a little bit. It's further back than London is, I think, and I think, but I think they're catching up, and I can feel the food culture growing there, and I like the little pubs, and the water park is right behind my house, and so walking in the water park.
Do you think you're there to stay now, or would you move back to the States at some point?
Well, does anyone know where they're? If they're there to stay. No, I'm going to move around still. But I may always have a permanent base there. But I don't think that Manchester is my full stop home. Just because I'm such a California girl, really, and I need the sunshine. Let's just be honest about it. I need the sunshine. I do love that the days last till 10 o'clock in the summer, living this far north. I love that about the summertime. So when you get proper summer days, that's pretty special.
Speaking of summer days, the last time I saw you perform was at End of the Road Festival at the end of last summer, which, for people who don't know, is a festival that takes place in Dorset. And last year the weather was not particularly great for the weekend.
No,
but
it
you
rained
played
all
on,
weekend.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But you performed, I think, on the Sunday evening with Sam Beam from Iron and Wine. And it was a really kind of special moment because it was in the early evening and the clouds kind of parted and the rain stopped for a little while and you guys performed, and it had a fantastic kind of feel to your set. And it looked like you were having a lot of fun because I quite enjoyed the relationship that you had with Sam kind of came on stage with you because you were kind of like, it felt like you were kind of good friends and laughing and joking in between tracks.
Yeah.
Was touring that album as much fun to do as it looked?
Totally, yeah. I think the parts I looked forward to the most were the between songs banter.
He seemed to have strong banter.
It took a little while to kind of determine how it was going to work, but because both he and I hold the front of the stage when we're doing our independent work. But I figured out, I think, just to play it in this particular way so that, we weren't speaking over each other, and the stuff that would come out was always surprising because every audience is different, so they give you different things to go off of. Like at that particular show, 2 macaws flew over the audience, and I saw them. They were flying over the audience when we were singing the song. It's called Every Songbird Says. So in the middle of the lyric that says, in the song it says, I'm in love with you, I'm in love with you, I'm in love with you. And right before that, these 2 macaws flew over the audience, and I watched them unload 2 massive shits, or probably more. And I watched this circle, while we're singing, watch this circle kind of like divide, like spread outward, trying to avoid getting dumped on. And then just plop, plop. And we changed the lyrics to, I'm gonna shit on you, I'm gonna shit on you, I'm gonna shit on. And that was a good laugh. So you just, you never know where the laughter is gonna come and when but the laughter was my favorite part of the musical tour. The tour. That was
an incredible moment.
It was funny.
And just the way that the
great stage management.
Yeah. It was the way that the audience, the people that were stood further back that could see what was happening, all kind of in unison just went, ooh, or like, ah. I've never seen anything like that happen at a show before.
No, but it was also very good timing.
Yeah.
Comedic timing. The birds knew what they were doing.
Yeah. I feel sorry for the person that maybe got caught by it, but
it's still. Good luck. It's supposed to be good luck.
Is it?
Yeah, to get pooped on by a bird.
I've never heard that before.
Well, there's probably lots of things you haven't heard before.
Very true. Yeah, it was one of the highlights of the weekend, though, admittedly. I thought it was really funny.
We shall thank the birds.
Exactly. To move on to talk about this new record that you've made, Memories Are Now. It was made in quite a unique location. Tell us a bit about that and where you recorded it.
Well, the funny thing is that when I rambled down the path of recording this record in a Moroccan restaurant, we would bring in a grand piano every morning and a Neve console, 3 tons, after dinner service, when everybody spills out of the restaurant, right?
Yeah.
And then we would set up 60 microphones, right? So what? We've got a grand piano, right? And then we've got a Neve console and 60 microphones and all the instruments and all the booths to set up. And then we do our session. And then we work all night. We get ready to break down, ready for the next dinner service. And we did that for 8 days. We brought the grand piano out, and then 3-ton Neve console out, and the 60 microphones down. When I said that, I was just having fun, and I didn't expect anyone to believe me, because does that make any sense to you?
Make any sense to me that you would take all of the equipment in and then take it all out and then do it all again and over 8 times?
I had no idea that anyone would believe, because it's completely infeasible. I think you believed me.
I think I definitely believe you. You seem pretty trustworthy so far, so I'm not quite sure. But...
I'm not trustworthy.
No?
No. I lied to everyone, but I thought for sure there's no one that would believe that we brought this 3-ton Neve console in and out, and this piano. But people keep asking me about this record I made in a Moroccan restaurant.
I would completely bought into the idea, and actually found the idea quite romantic. You might have done that.
The chicken, the tagine, is delicious.
Yeah.
And we didn't have to worry about catering.
That's true.
We just went into the fridge and had leftovers.
When you're writing music for a new record, tell me a little bit about what kind of home life is like and where you find yourself writing. Do you kind of do you cut yourself off? You know, do you work in a disciplined fashion? Do you let it kind of like consume you? Tell us a bit about that.
I would say I do let it consume me. I feel fortunate when it gets to that stage. In terms of, there's usually a bit of aggravation and turmoil. I'm not sure that's the right word, but just I have to put my head down for a while in the beginning, because it comes with a challenge. You know, you have to. It's like sorting through everything, seeing what you have to say, and not judging things too soon, but making sure that you're writing from a place that will lead you down a path of something that's of value. And I have this a discipline that I follow, and I'll sit down for an hour. I'll say you have to sit down for an hour 5 days a week, at least, and that's gentle, right? But that first hour can feel really difficult. If nothing comes in an hour, move on to something else. Try it again later. If it doesn't work, you have to try it again the next day. But the thing is in that hour, if nothing is coming to your tongue, the idea is still forming. Because that's the heavy lifting. For me, that's the heavy lifting. That blank spot before the idea has formed a seed. So,
what kind of things do you do to distract yourself if like you mentioned, that first hour? If things aren't flowing, do you take yourself out for a walk? Do you kind of watch some TV? Do you listen to other music?
I like to drink coffee and wine.
Okay.
That'll help just get the wheels, yes. And it'll start at 11. I don't drink much, but there's something about wine that just, what it does is it opens your emotional body, the red wine. And the coffee just gets your mind spinning because it's an upper, right? I like to mix that depressant, the slurry red wine with the coffee. Yeah. So a little bit of drug intake, you know what I mean, in that way.
Red wine gives me a bad hangover.
Well, you don't drink enough to get hungover.
Oh, okay.
You know, it's just a little tipple and ritual as well. And, I mean, this must sound ridiculous. A little rebellion. You're not supposed to drink wine at 11 o'clock in the morning. I mean, I'm no Bukowski, but, you know, you're not supposed to drink it. But I still feel like I'm taking this for myself. I write songs, and this is what I do when I write songs, so it doesn't matter what time of the day. It's ridiculous, but I was raised in this particular way, and it feels like a bit of rebellion anyhow. Yeah. So, anyway, walking. The wine and the coffee will help get things started. I bathe a lot, actually, in between chunks. So once a seed is formed, right, and you can latch on and you can write, then you can spend more time because your ass isn't being kicked by this, you know, by the early periods of forming that idea. Because, I mean, it's just can be, it's not always fun. You know what I mean?
Is writing a record, can it be quite torturous?
Well, I call my room my torture chamber because it can be. It can just be like, ugh. And because it should come, I think that it was said to me once, and I find comfort in this idea that a great artist is carrying lots of doubt. That comes hand in hand. That it's not necessarily about being sure-footed and confident. It's about someone who questions themselves and questions their ideas and puts their ideas to the test. And that's what helps drive them to a better resolution in the end. So I'm okay with a feeling of doubt because it might indicate that I'm reaching and I'm stretching, and I won't settle for, I'm not going to rest on my laurels, what I've been able to accomplish in the past. Because in truth, I don't know how it is that I'm able to write. When I listen to a song, I don't know how I was able to come up with those particular ideas, and I thank my lucky stars that ever I was able.
This record's being released on Sub Pop, the legendary Sub Pop label. That's exciting.
It's been so nice so far.
Have you been to the offices?
Yes, I've been there a few times. The Love Letter for Fire, the Sam Beam and Jesca Hoop record, was put out through Sub Pop. And I also joined another Sub Pop band called Shearwater. So I have a bit of history with them. The relationship formed, I think, through a bit of, star alignment as well. I was keeping tabs with the head of the label, Jonathan Poneman, a couple years ago, and thinking to myself, that's where I want to put out Memories Are Now. I want to put out Memories Are Now on Sub Pop, and keeping my communication going with him. At a certain point, he said it might take some time. My intention is this, he said, but they're a democracy over there. He said, it might take some time. You're going to need to be patient. And he was right. It took 2 years. But in the meantime, the Love Letter for Fire record was put out under Sub Pop, and that helped me solidify the relationship.
And what's it like? What's the sense of the place? I've never visited. It's kind of in my mind. I've mythologized it, the building, the place, the people. What's it like once you get inside? Is it full of grunge memorabilia and amazing records? Does it feel like home when you go there? What's it like?
Well, first it's wrapped in Seattle rain and wind and the grey sky, much like Manchester.
I was going to say, yeah, that sounds familiar.
It's got that energy about it. It's that Seattle, electric kind of weather. And then inside, yes, it's filled with old posters from every band that they've ever supported in the past. And they love their products, so they've got Sub Pop products strewn all over the place, and everything's open, so most of the people are standing at their desks and working rather than sitting at their desks and working.
Okay.
And you walk around and everybody's in view. And it's very, very friendly, and I'm going to say that it's the first time where I've felt a real synergy amongst the label members. And in my experience, I felt the most kind of teamwork that I have ever experienced before, and it's been a huge relief for me, I've been independent for more or less for 10 years, making my self-funding and releasing my record or licensing out my records. And I've never felt this kind of communication and this kind of support. So it's just come at the right time. If not, it's come at the right time.
That sounds nice, because it doesn't sound like it's just a label. It feels like a sort of family-esque support system, really. That's
how it feels. And I was just remarking today to someone that when you do good, it's like and I mean this in a good way, they respond like you're one of their children, like they're proud of you. And that feels nice. And I mean that, and I do mean that in a good way, not a patronizing kind of, they give you that positive reinforcement.
Those places are rare, I think. I was lucky enough to go around Third Man Records in Nashville, so Jack White's label, last year, and that was an incredible place. And the people there, that felt, from what you described, not unsimilar from what you found at Sub Pop.
Yeah, they're real people working inside, and I think their intentions are well balanced. They're a record company, and they have to sell records, and they also balance it, I think, with the art side of things, where they want to put integral, strong records that they believe in, that help musical culture. I think they have a balance of the two. I think the latter is where I play in. It's nice to see that they are able to keep a balance, I
want to talk a bit about some of the themes that come out on Memories Are Now, one of which is kind of the role of technology in our lives, I guess, has been kind of like earmarked in some of the reviews that I've read about the record as well. When we talk about technology and the role it plays in our lives, is there anything, a conversation that we regularly have in the office is the things that we kind of miss before the internet age. just like small things. But what is there anything that you miss?
You know, today my phone is broken right now. I'm traveling without a phone.
Does that feel amazing?
Well, it also feels rebellious, but at the same time, I don't know how I'm going to figure out how I'm going to coordinate my next, like, the things I have to do later on today.
Yeah.
So if you don't use it, you lose it. You know what I mean? This freedom, the unpredictability of when someone's going to arrive. You know. Anyway, I absolutely miss my freedom. We are expected to respond immediately, and to a degree that's nice. I do appreciate the speed at which we're able to communicate, and I can see the benefit. I don't in any way, shape, or form want to be tied to communication, because there's other things to communicate with besides human beings and about business or something that keeps you feeling connected that actually isn't doing the trick. It's a farce. So I don't want to be tied to I am not tied to my devices, and I really am not that stoked on people walking around looking at their phones. I do miss, I miss the times before when people had to entertain themselves by their immediate environment. At the same time, I appreciate the information that comes through social media, because there's more you can find there that isn't available through the mainstream media. So it comes with its pluses and minuses, but in no way, shape, or form do I feel obliged to respond immediately. You know, I have mixed feelings about it all. But if I never had to work on a computer again, I wouldn't. If I could have somebody else do all that for me, I absolutely would.
When everybody started getting cell phones, were you resistant to getting one at first? Because I remember when people around me started to get like a mobile phone for the first time, I kind of didn't for a while, maybe like a year or so, until basically I realised that I was not being invited to like birthday parties anymore.
Yeah, because you didn't get the message.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Did you like immediately let that stuff into your life? Or?
No, I didn't have a cell phone till I was 24. I mean, they'd been out a while, and no, I didn't think about having a cell phone at all. It didn't cross my mind. And I think I got one when I moved to LA and needed a phone. Like my screen is completely smashed, and that's why it broke eventually, because I didn't fix the screen, because I don't care about it. I really don't care about it.
I remember when it was when the internet first came about, and you would have to, if you had like a computer at home, like a desktop computer, and you'd need to run like the long cable and like plug it into your phone connection, and then your phone wouldn't be working because you'd taken one out and put the other in. And in my family home, like the internet at that point was kind of considered, there was definitely like a reluctance to letting this internet thing come into the home, because nobody really knew what it was or what the kind of...
It was a spy device.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, as far as like my parents were concerned,
they should have been careful, and they didn't know, did they?
Yeah, exactly.
It's true.
Exactly, and I think it's definitely not something to kind of like, I don't look back and kind of like sneer at their reluctance. I just think it's just kind of, I almost have a fondness about it, to be honest, seeing how kind of the internet,
shaped by the world it is.
Yeah, exactly. And so it was just, but it was suddenly this alien thing.
I meant that the opposite.
Oh, okay.
World shaping that it is.
Yeah,
I said the wrong thing.
And it was just kind of funny because, yeah, we'd have like internet time. It would be like, right, you can have your 15 minutes on a Sunday evening on the internet, and I don't even know what we'd be looking at that point. But it was just
naked girls.
There was there was actually none of that.
Why else do you think the internet is so successful?
Yeah, exactly.
Naked women.
It was still a strange feeling though, letting that thing into your home, and now it's obviously like ubiquitous and it's everywhere. I just have quite fond memories. I'm glad that I was part of the generation that saw the transition between those worlds, because I have like young family members now that effectively just have grown up in the internet age, and the idea of anything being pre-internet is just, it's laughable, the fact that you know I might get in the car and I've got maps to try and go to where I'm going, and people are like, why don't you just use your phone?
Yeah. Well, I feel for the kids. I do. I mean, don't we always feel for the kids when we're no longer kids? I feel for the kids because, well, I guess they're carving new paths with how they're spending their time and building different strengths. But I do worry for their sense of connection, and I worry for their sense of their attention span. If they're always sipping on this thing, they're always sipping on it, and it's just, to me, it's something that needs to be kept in balance because it's junk food. That information you have to be careful with it, I think.
How important was
I wouldn't buy my kid a smartphone, and that's that's one of the benefits to me not having children, is that I don't have to fight that battle with them, because if I didn't buy them a cell phone, they would be at odds with all of their friends, and I recognize that that's a struggle I totally do not, and this is not the reason why I'm not having children, obviously, but I'm glad I don't have to fight that battle, because I don't want to have to alienate my own children. I wouldn't buy them one.
Yeah.
I wouldn't do it.
It is a tricky one, because they would, I have no doubt.
Oh, they would kick and scream.
Yeah.
It'd be like forever, because
in my day, it was
it's just the way.
Shoes, cool school shoes. That seemed to sort of. I wanted some kickers for school, and because everybody else had some, but my mum and dad were more into Clark shoes, which is
You British get off easy though, because you wear your school uniforms. Americans have to fight the whole brand thing from head to toe every day.
True. How important was the space to be bored, to basically fashioning your own kind of musical abilities and writing your first music and first songs and things like that? Because
complete.
Yeah. Okay.
Absolutely. And that's what children are missing. They're missing that space to be bored. They're not meant to be entertained. They're meant to craft with their amazing minds. They're so inventive, children, and if you always fill it with something else, they won't figure out what they can fill on their own. So boredom for me was essential. I began writing out of these long walks to school and my mind wanting to wander itself. So that empty space, those long gazing out the window, wondering if you're gonna be able to write a song, are very important.
What would happen if we just turned off the internet tomorrow?
Everything would fall apart.
It's true.
We would use landlines and they would get all backed up, and then the secretaries would come wheeling out. They'd start plugging things in and connecting people through hard wires, and they would come back to life from the Second World War, still wearing those old uniforms and the curly hair and the red lipstick and the cigarettes.
Yeah.
Tomorrow? No, my record's released tomorrow. Let's not shut the internet down tomorrow, please.
No. How are you feeling about that, by the way?
I'm happy. I'm really happy. Release date is somewhat ambiguous, because things come out they trickle out, don't they? But people can buy them in shops. It's nice, and I hope people do, because I think the vinyl especially is such a nice thing to own. But I'm just happy to this record came with its challenges, and I'm just really happy that it's been received with some loving care and responses and all that, and it's just another record that I'm happy to have in the world.
With each of your past records, you kind of likened it to the different stages of giving birth, and the fact that it's kind of been, each one has been difficult for different reasons. Why has this one been challenging, or has it been challenging?
Well, this came along with some rather kind of practical challenges that are just too boring to go into. But
then the restaurant thing came up.
That was very difficult. It was backbreaking. But no, these ones were more just logistical, and the writing came along just through a bunch of discipline. It was really nice to see the empty wall, and then eventually write the numbers down 1 through 15, and then eventually see a title fill each of those lines. It's always, for me, for a while there, it was touch and go. Can I, as an independent, artist, I thought, can I afford to keep doing this? Because everything that comes in, goes straight back out. Can I afford to do this? And it is just really nice to, when you take those little leaps of faith for that step to come in and catch your stride. If you decide to step out and step wider for that stone to meet you where your foot lands. I'm not sure how that relates to my comparisons in the past, my metaphors, but this one, I don't know what the last one was. I think this one might be a crowning.
In those moments of kind of uncertainty, because it is, as an independent artist, or like trying to kind of make the next step, release the next record, are there days where you just think, this feels impossible, like, oh, I'm just going to do something else?
I had one day when I was pulling my hair out. Yeah, because there's times, you know, when you're underground, there's these humps you really have to get over. You have to work super hard, and sometimes the work is more than you can do alone, but the money isn't enough to have somebody else do it. So you have to really bear down and focus, and more of your time goes to the logistical side than it does to the creative side. It's dangerous. You gotta be careful. You have to protect yourself. But on one of these particular days, I was like really unhappy and just feeling like, just not feeling supported. And the truth was that I wasn't supported. You know, the suicide of my career kind of thought trajectory. And on that same day, my partner in all things looks at me and he goes, "You just got a message from Peter Gabriel. He wants to see if you'd like to come out on tour." And so that's what I mean about, it's just, you never know when the clouds are going to open and you're going to be given that break. It is important to hang in there. You know, I do. I've wondered if it's a nasty joke when they say, just keep at it, you know. But I believe it's true. I do, because I feel that I've been given those moments of respite and relief and support. The more I continued on that in the work.
You went out on tour with Peter Gabriel's band. That's right, when you were actually singing with his band, weren't you?
Yeah, it was the New Blood Orchestra.
Okay.
He put lots of his different songs from his catalog to full-on orchestra. It was like, I can't remember how, 40 people in the orchestra.
And what was the experience? I mean, what was the experience of that like?
It was gorgeous. It was gorgeous and humbling and lovely, and I learned a lot. I hope I learned a lot. I think I did. I haven't been in a similar circumstance since, but I learned a lot personally, and I learned a lot. It was also very nice to be just a cog, you know, a small part of a larger production, and just put in my 2 cents, you know, rather than being at the center. It was relaxing. So, but I learned a lot, more personally, I think, than necessarily musically. The things that I took away from that personally are I think, things that help you connect, help you carry yourself with more integrity in the world.
My final questions were about the people that you've worked with in the past and your collaborations. We mentioned at the start of this about the record you made with Sam Beam, and just from an outside perspective, how much fun that looked to be. You know, your bond, your friendship, and that experience. What do you look for in potential collaborators? What are the magnets that need to come together for you to want to work with somebody?
If I'm going to collaborate with someone, I want to be able to suspend disbelief so that we can enter the altered realm that is songwriting and explore the limitlessness without breaking that spell. So there has to be trust. And that's what I have with Sam Beam, that trust, that ability to move up the platforms into an altered space.
Trust takes time though, right? So
it depends on who.
Oh really? Can you be quite trusting? So, you know, if you'd met Sam through circumstance a few times and you just got a good sense of like him as a person?
Yeah, that was immediate.
Okay. And
I think that's what created the I mean, I think that's how we knew we could move forward, is because we had a sense of that trust. And that's trust is the number one essential when collaborating.
Do you feel when you first sit down to or stand up to
On your head?
Yeah, exactly. Whatever works. To collaborate with somebody, do you feel self-conscious about your own abilities, about your own ideas? What's it like in those first couple of hours of writing music with somebody else that you've not written with before?
I think, yes, of course. I mean, in front of my own self, I'm self-conscious. So I think it's important those are just feelings to embrace, and they help you. They're there to assist you. Those feelings, like I said earlier, that sense of doubt puts you on point, and I think it's okay.
And where do those records, like the album you made with Guy Garvey and the record you made with Sam Beam, both brilliant pieces of work, do you feel like this will be a theme as you continue to make music, that you'll meet with people and you'll carry on making records like that?
I would like to work with some of my own female friends.
Yeah, okay.
You know, I think that's probably where I'll move forward in terms of collaboration. Just start to seek out some female voices and strong female voices.
Who would you like to make a record with?
Sharon Von Etten and Agnes Obel.
That would be incredible.
Wouldn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I would definitely look forward to hearing that.
Yeah, that'd be a beautiful trio.
Midnight Chats is a Loud and Quiet podcast. Production by Emma Snook. Music courtesy of Gold Panda. Search Midnight Chats on iTunes for more episodes and to subscribe. For more information, visit loudandquiet.com.